Okay, nieces and nephews, this is Tito Keith again. I think I'm sure a lot of you saw Miss Marissa's short video yesterday of her in the garden. She was just kind of showing the different rows and what's in each row yesterday. So today we went out and we got some, hang on, I guess I'll show you. Let's put it down here where you can see. Let's get this closer. We pulled some leaves. Let's pull this together a little bit. From some collard greens, regular mustard greens, and then red mustard greens. These red mustard greens are really spicy. And let's go to the collards first. You see these collard greens, they're really small. A lot of people, you'll see when they harvest their collard greens, I mean, the leaves are about the size of a basketball. But what they do is they let the plant get fully mature, and then they pull it. And of course, once they pull it, they have big collard green leaves, but then the plant doesn't grow anymore. What I do is you pull, when they start to get to about 4 or 5 inches instead of 8 or 12 inches, and like this across, big huge things look like elephant ears almost. But you only pull them one time. I like to do them early when they're smaller, because we all know it's just like if you have okra. You go out and you harvest your okra. Don't let all the okra come out. You harvest a few today, maybe in 2 or 3 days. You harvest a few more, just cut them off. And what happens is your plant doesn't have any. Your plant is able to conserve its food for new growth, so you have more and more and more okra. Well, that's what we do right here. What I did, let's go back here. Again, this is the collards, this is the regular mustard greens, and this is the red mustard greens. I wash these in a sink 3 times, 3, because you want to get bugs and dirt and stuff on it. And you know, a lot of people will say, well, no, that your plant is growing above ground. It's not going to get dirt if it's above ground. Well, that's baloney. That's bull. Because when it rains, the rain splashes dirt. So all your plants are going to have dirt on them. So I wash them, and especially like these leaves are so big. I wash them 3 times in the sink, and then for the 4th time, I put them in these bowls with some salt, because that helps to pull bugs, small caterpillars, the little tiny bugs that we don't see. I put these in salt water, so that's what they're doing now, and I kind of agitated them around a little bit. So I'm going to put these back in the sink and get the salt water off of them, and then we're going to show you how we cut the stem out of them, and show you how to freeze these, because a lot of people don't know that you can actually freeze collard greens, mustard greens, regular and red mustard greens. So I'm gonna rinse these, get the salt water out, and get fresh water, and we will be back. Okay, we are back. Here's what we're gonna do now. Let's move some of this stuff. I'm gonna put this down here so you can see. Let's move my cutting board. Yahoo! Let's get in on this cutting board. Oops, let's go this way. This one is the collard greens. There's the top, there's the bottom. I'm using this knife. Actually, Marissa just bought this knife really just a couple weeks ago, and it's one of my favorite. It's just so balanced. It cooks. It cuts so easily. You see what we're doing? We're cutting this rib out of here. Set that to the side. The stem, rib, because even when you cook it, on these, because these are so young, it'll probably be better, but certainly with the big mustard greens or the big collard greens, Yeah, that stem is just so tough. You cannot eat it. I mean, you have to cook it. Jeez. Great day. You have to cook it forever. Marissa, what did you tell me about collard greens, mustard greens in Philippines? They're not very common, right? That's not surprising because even in the U.S., a lot of people in the U.S., certainly in the north, they might have heard of collard greens or mustard greens, but this is mostly a dish in the South, in the southern U.S. So what we're gonna do this with all the collard greens and then all the mustard greens, and then we are gonna blanch them in some boiling water, each one boiling water for about 2 minutes, and then we're gonna put them in a Ziploc, and I'm gonna show you how we roll these up and make them nice and pretty for cooking. Cut out that stem. Nice and fish. A lot of people just do this. They just tear it off like that. I would just rather it be nice and clean. Some people just do that. I don't like the way that works. Still have too much stem. Okay, so I'm gonna do this with all the collards and all the both sets of mustard greens, the regular mustard greens, and then we'll show you how to roll them and cut them to get them ready to eat. And then we're gonna prepare them to be frozen. And I'm doing this because a lot of people, even in the South, they've never cooked collard greens. They just buy them in the store, already prepared. Well, if you've never cooked collard greens, here is how you prepare them. Shoo-hoo. I will be back. All right, let's go back. You see all the stems? That's the stems we cut out. Now what we're gonna do now is take all of these, and see these are much smaller than a lot of people would make. They wait till their collard greens get really big, but then you can only harvest them once. If you do like this, I can harvest them 3 or 4 times. And these are actually like a fall, almost winter plant. But we planted these in spring. All right, check this out. Here's how you get these ready to cook. Just roll these like a cigar. La cucaracha, la cucaracha. It's a tiny little bug. La cucaracha, cigarello or cigar. You cut them up just like that. That looks so good. Oh gosh, that smells good too. Even if you have the big ones, and again, some people don't mind that, but me, no. The reason that you see a lot of markets will sell the really, really big collards or mustards, because a lot of people think that just looks better, it looks more healthy, it looks like it's a better crop. Nope, that's just somebody who didn't harvest all of their collards. Look at that. Back in here, we have just a few small ones now. So we're gonna do this right quick, and then we'll go to the next step. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this is the collards, we're gonna take our regular mustard and our red mustard, we're gonna do the same thing, and then we're gonna blanch these. When we say blanch, all that means is to put them in boiling water for about 2 minutes. That's it, for about 2 minutes. And then we can put them in a bag and freeze them. We will be back. Now we are on the regular mustard. See, these are a little bit bigger. We want to get those stems out of there. Because the stems are just too tough. You can still eat them, but you got to boil them down so much that it's not worth it. And again, it's really interesting that this is a, not exclusively, but a very popular dish in the southern United States, because our food our food in the South is much different than everybody else. We have collard greens and cornbread, grits, shrimp and grits, crawfish, real crawfish, seafood bowls, not that crap they do in Maryland or whatever it is. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, same thing now with the mustard. These are just the regular mustard greens. So we're gonna do the same thing, stack them up a little bit. These are so small. The big ones, put like 5 or 6, maybe. These are much smaller, so we can stack them a little bit higher. Same thing. Turn them, roll them up like a cigar, cigarero or cigar. I think I cut the other ones too small, so we're gonna make these a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. I'm gonna put those in there. Same thing, just like the collards, but this is the mustard greens, and we will be back. Okay, let's go over here. We did our collards. There's not very many, but that's okay. We picked these early so the rest of the plant can grow. Our regular mustard, and this is our red mustard. So let's put this here. We're gonna do the same thing, make it fast, and then we're gonna blanch these, and then we're gonna put them in the Ziploc, and we will be finished. I'm actually, right now, I'm ironing some clothes for Kuya Bob, his good shirts. No, of course, not t-shirts and polo shirts, but his button-up shirts. Like in the US, we call this, let me put this up. We call this polo shirt. I think Marissa calls button-up, like here we would say button-up shirt. I think Marissa calls it, I think she calls it polo shirt. I can't remember. So we're gonna do the same thing here. When I'm done, I'm gonna finish ironing Bob's button-up shirts. Some of them are short sleeve button-up, some of them are long sleeve button-up, but just so Bob has some really nice looking shirts, and I take them to the dry cleaner, and they'll look nice, yeah, but shucks, it costs so much money. So I just do it. You know, our suit jackets and suit pants, yes, take them to the dry cleaner. Yes, absolutely. Because they just look better. But just regular button-up shirts, no. I just buy some starch. I iron them, starch them really good, and it looks great. So I'm gonna cut this red mustard that's really spicy, and then we're gonna blanch everything, and we will be back. Ooh. Okay, the first thing we said we're gonna do, well, maybe I should take this off here and show everybody. My clip. Let's turn. That's the collards, the regular mustard greens, and the red mustard greens that are so hot. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take, let me show you this first. When we're finished and everything's cool, that's our Ziploc, not just a regular plastic, but a Ziploc. That's the collards, that's the regular mustard greens, that's the regular, I gotta put the red mustard greens. So there's not a whole lot, but that way we can grab 1 or 2 or 3, however many we think we need. So we are gonna take and it's really interesting, ever since Marissa came here, Marissa is so used to cooking outside, and she's so good at that. I mean, she's just good at cooking outside. I know I've said in probably 3 or 4 videos, if you want to build a fire, let a Filipina build the fire because they know how much better. So let's turn this around. So that's boiling. So we're just gonna dump our, oh no, that's the red. We don't want the red ones yet. It's only gonna be about 2 minutes. So we're just gonna dump that in the boiling water. That's all we want, is about 2 minutes. No spices. We rinsed all the salt off in the sink. So we want no spices or anything. So we're just gonna let that go for about 2 minutes. And okay, that's it, 2 minutes. So we're gonna take the collard greens out. And the really interesting part about this, if you'll notice, when you blanch collard greens or mustard or even the red mustard, it makes the greens like a brighter green. But that's all you want, just to make them. That just means that the hot water got to them. You don't want to cook them. You just want to blanch them. And to be honest, I cannot tell you why that is important. I've just seen so many chefs say before you try to freeze your greens, there's still some in there, blanch them first, let them cool, and then you can put them in a Ziploc. And we are not going to change the water. This is our, let's put it right here. This is our regular mustard. We're just going to put our mustard. We just did our collard greens, and now we're going to do our mustard. 2 minutes, and that's it. Just to blanch. And for those of you who went to who went to public school like me, and there's a lot of English words you don't understand because public school did not teach us a lot of things that public school just did not teach us, especially about the world. They taught us about racism, and they taught us about civil rights and the bad part of American history, but public school didn't really teach us a whole lot about how the world actually works. The word blanch just means to put them in hot water just for a couple of minutes, just to blanch them. It's just to shock the outside of the plant, especially leaves, or even some other vegetable, just to shock the outside so you can freeze them. Or some other dishes, it makes them cook better. So we got that. That's the regular mustard. We're gonna let that sit there for 2 minutes and come back, and we're gonna do the red mustard. So now this is our regular mustard greens. We're gonna put them on a towel to help them dry, because we don't want to put them in a Ziploc if they're wet and go in the freezer. We want them to be kind of dry. Put as much water out as we can so it doesn't form icicles or forces them to freeze and burn. But of course we know these are not going to sit in the ref too long. Say refrigerator. In the US we say refrigerator, and it's so funny because I always mix the two. In the US we say refrigerator. In Philippines, so many people say ref, R-E-F. And it's so funny because when I was young, people had a refrigerator, and the brand name of the refrigerator was Frigidaire. And I'm sure everybody remembers that, Frigidaire. Come on, for a second. Not everybody, of course, but so many people, because the word Frigidaire was on their refrigerator. They didn't say refrigerator. They said Frigidaire. Even when I was a teenager, I thought that was so gosh darn funny. It's not a Frigidaire. That's the name brand. That's the company that made it. It's not the noun to describe what it is. I always thought that was so gosh darn funny. All right, we did the collards, we did the regular mustard. Now we're doing the red mustard. 2 minutes each, and then we're going to put these in Ziploc bags and put them in. So we took the collards and the regular mustard and the red mustard, which is really kind of spicy. We took that off of the grill, out of the boiling water, just to blanch it. So we're gonna wait until that cools off, and then we're gonna put it in Ziplocs and put it in the freezer. That's hot. The shirt is so thin. Actually, now I'm ironing, not my shirts, I'm ironing the shirts of Coolie Bob. Of course, t-shirts, and here, like this, we call this polo. I think